Hello there everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Joesephyr and welcome to another Should You Pull video for Dissidia Final Fantasy Omnia. Now in today's video we're going to be covering the next part of the story chapter, and this is going to also contain a brand new character with Iroha and her LD weapon, EX, all that stuff, like a full kit. So if you're interested in learning more about Iroha and the unique capabilities they bring to a supporting role in Dissidia, as well as the event itself, then of course as always stay tuned and keep on watching. Before we get started, of course, don't forget to check out all my social media links in the description box below, including Twitter, Twitch, Discord, and Patreon. Now, with Twitch, I have a really exciting announcement that I want to make, and I know that a lot of people have been following me and the fact that I've taken a bit of a break from streaming Dissidia, but I want to come back to streaming everything, and I've been streaming a lot anyway, but with a bang. I wanted to turn the negative experiences I've had with relations to people making homophobic slurs, things like that out of me, and turn it into something really good and really positive. And I think that one of the best ways to kind of stick it to those kind of haters is to turn something bad into something positive and bring the light into the world by way of another charity stream. Now, this charity stream is going to take place on the 31st of this month, so July, and it's going to be The Adventures of the Rainbow Ninjas. And come and join us as we level my ninja from 30 all the way to 80, and then we're going to do lots and lots of other little activities, things like that, while we're raising money for Mind Out. Now, Mind Out is a charity that is focused on mental health and well-being for LGBTQ plus people, and obviously is a charity that's very, very close to my heart. So if you'd like to know more details about that and the charity itself, then you can click on the links in the description box below. But suffice to say, it's something I'm very, very excited about, and I'd really like it if you'd all come and join me. Now, with regards to Patreon, obviously I shout out one of my patrons every time I release a new video, and today that person is going to be Aaron, who is who is a Sellers fan, as you can see from their title card. And if you would like a title card just like they have, as well as lots of other benefits such as voice chats we all do together, being a part of Would You Pull, having some behind the scenes footage, all sorts of lovely and cool things, then perhaps you'd like to consider becoming a patron as well. Don't forget to check out all of the other wonderful content creators there are out there for Dissidia, Omnia, and of course all of the other resources there are, all in the description box below. So let's take a look at the banner and what Iroha brings to the table as a brand new character. And you may notice as well that I've had a little changeover as to what I'm showcasing here when it comes to what resources we're using. But this is actually an infographic that was posted by Rem, who also makes Dissidia DB, back when she came out in JP. So it's a very, very nice consolidated infographic that we can take a look at for this. Now, with regards to the banner, of course, it will feature all of Iroha's gear, LDEX 1535. It'll also be the last chance to get Eald'narche's BT as far as we're aware, as well as Saz and Papalimo's EXs. So those are just nice little bonuses that, at this day and age, we talk about the EXs. They're barely even consolation prizes at this point, if you ask me. Now, Iroha's role within the game is she is a support-based character. So she's battery, HP regen, healing, things like that, auras, but she has a very unique kind of weird way of batterying her party that no other character really has at this point in the game. Now, with regards to the actual skills themselves, let's take a look at those individually. So they are all sort of prefixed with the Amatsu prefix, but Tune is a healing attack with a 6-hit Brave HP attack attached to it that deals splash damage and also batteries the party for the HP damage that's dealt. And it will grant her her first primary buff that works for her, and gives everyone some max brave and attack, and it also makes it so that whenever she does an HP attack, she only uses 80% of her bravery in order to do so. What this means is that it's kind of like Brave Refund, but it's also not, which means that it circumvents any kind of Brave Reduction auras that the enemy might have. So you are going to keep 20% of that bravery no matter what happens. So it's an interesting and a unique mechanic that her LD will also come into play with, allowing the party to do a similar kind of thing. Not only this, but it actually changes her skill 2. So her skill 2, which is Fuga, is normally a 6-hit Brave HP attack with split AoE damage, but if you have used either her skill 1 or her LD beforehand, this changes into Fuga Fusion, which makes it a 4-hit Brave HP attack delivered twice, so it makes it just generally a little bit more powerful. Her EX and her C65 are extremely interesting. Like, there's nothing there's nothing quite like these. So her EX, you use twice when you get it. You use it once and it doesn't empty her EX gauge. You use it again and it's actually stronger the second time around after you've put all of your ingots and everything into it, but only for the fact that it batteries the party for a greater amount. So what it is it's a 4-hit Brave HP attack that hits 4 times, so lots of HP dumps, and it does splash damage as well, and it also batteries the party. And it also grants her another buff, which gives her more attack and also Brave Regen. Now, the reason this is interesting, as well as her C65, is the fact that she uses her C65 to fill her EX gauge. So therefore, using free skill uses and things like that, it's a really fun way of going about it, because the EX's recast gauge is actually very slow. But the fact that you can kind of play around with characters like Ashe, who we've just had to refill this, makes it really interesting and fun. And the fact that you use it twice before you have to start recasting it again makes it really interesting, weird, and, well, noteworthy. And then her LD, which is Rise from the Ashes, is another healing attack that does a AoE Brave HP attack that's delivered twice. It does. It's got loads of Brave Overflow, and it also makes it so that you get the Phoenix's Blessing buff. Now, the Phoenix's Blessing buff gives you more attack to the party, 20% Brave damage dealt, more Brave Overflow, and it also extends her Brave consumption reduction to her party. This can be really powerful in the right hands. Namely, anyone that uses multiple HP dumps in their attacks. We're looking at you, Tifa, because it means that you've got more bravery to go into each of those attacks, so that you're gaining more bravery percentage based off of each of those attacks, which makes the attacks hit that much harder. So, and because you don't have to worry about Brave Reduction auras, because you're not actually gaining bravery, you're keeping hold of bravery that you would have spent. It's just, again, it's unique, it's different, and it does circumvent certain rules of the game. You also get a free skill use at the end after you use it. So the likelihood is that you'll probably want to use this on your C65, fill that EX gauge up, and then try to go to town with that. Because, again, 4-hit Brave HP attack on that EX, it's something nice to have hold of. And then you also get the Fuga Fusion as well from using the LD, so you'll get multiple HP dumps from that. Basically, Iroha pairs up very, very well with characters that like multiple HP dumps, characters that want to use their bravery but not spend it all at once. It also is a safety measure, because if you're only using 80% of your bravery when you're doing attacks, then it means that characters like Kuja, for example, who have these really hard-hitting multi-HP dumping attacks like Seraphic Star, but don't keep any bravery back after it, it allows them to stay a little bit safer. It means that they're less likely to get broken because they're keeping some of their bravery back. It's all in all, it's just a very, very interesting kit. Do I think that it's mandatory to have? No, not really. I think that there's lots of really strong support characters in the game. I think that, like, normally with something this unique, I'd be all over it. I would. But because there are certain characters that have such strong bravery gains, they kind of get past the brave reduction auras anyway. I do, however, think that she's very cool. Like, she's got some beautiful animations on her attacks as well. I think the fact that she pairs up with a lot of different characters is very interesting. I will say that her potencies aren't the greatest on her attacks. Like, she's not going to be a primary damage dealer anytime soon, even with all of those massive numbers of HP dumps. But if you pair her up with the right characters, someone like Serra, for example, who can support her and make her so her HP and bravery damage is dealt that much higher, then yeah, you can definitely make her into that role. But I definitely think she fulfills the third party member kind of category, and there's a lot of those in the game. So where we've been looking for places to save, this character also does return on a very powerful banner with Vayne's BT+, which is, I'm sure you're not surprised to hear, one that I'm extremely excited about and is the reason that I will most likely not be pulling for Iroha at this time. But she's definitely a character that I would like to have at some point, because I feel that there's a lot there to like about her. But I'm not going to go rushing out of the door to go and get her now. With regards to her call abilities and her high armor, her call abilities are nice. Like, her basic call ability is her skill 1, which is her tune, so she does a little bit of healing, brave HP attack, and she also gets a party battery out of it, and you get max brave and attack for the party for the 3 turns when you've used it. Very simple, very basic, but kind of a cover-all kind of thing when it comes to call abilities. Her LD call, however, does give you that brave, it's also a healing attack, obviously, but it also gives you that brave consumption reduction, so you're only using 80% of your bravery. It doesn't last the longest amount of time. It's a very short-lasting call ability. But if you're using this alongside, say, Tifa, who can just spam multi-HP dumping attacks like going, you know how it is with Tifa, you use Battle Cry, then you use her HP plus that she got from her LD, then you use Battle Cry again, then you use her LD or Beat Rush. She's very capable of taking advantage of this, as is any BT character. If you have a BT character and you go into burst phase while you have this LD call up, you're going to deal a lot of damage. However, there are other calls like this, even if they don't do it in the same way. Characters like Camlanort and Terra with their LD call abilities give you like brave refunds when you do stuff. The difference with this one is that it's party-wide, and it gets around the brave reduction auras. So it is really powerful. If you wanted to go out of your way for this, then you would be picking up a really nice LD call while you're at it. As for her high armor upsets me a little bit because she's a healing character that has the encouragement keystone and doesn't have a C ability slot, a sphere slot for her to be able to use Paladin Cecil's sphere, which is really upsetting because it would be really good if she did have that, because it means that you'd be able to battery even more than she already does. I mean, the fact that you get, you know, the brave gains and stuff works well with some of her skills, but it doesn't interact with her brave consumption reduction. So it's like it's a little bit iffy, but it's still useful. Like, encouragement keystone is a usable thing nowadays. As for high armor plus, it increases the bravery, it's party wide and it's 10% party HP held. That is nice, but I just think that there are much more pressing characters that you could be using your high armor tokens or your high armor books and ingots, etc. Because while I think this is nice, I don't think that you would use this all that frequently. Iroha is a good character, don't get me wrong, she's very good. But I think that there's a lot of characters that you could be bringing that do similar, if not quite the same things as she does, and will function perfectly well. Okay, so now let's discuss the event that comes along with them in the Lufenia mission, of course, which is going to be against the whale zombies, which if you've ever played FF9, you'll have seen these before. Now, the whale zombies are very heavy on the brave reduction auras, as I'm sure you would imagine, with Iroha being the featured character, because they want you to use Iroha and the brave consumption reduction. And then the Lufenia orb is for your party's bravery, and I mean all members of your party, to have their bravery be above 15k at the end of their turn. So once the player's turn is finished, if all characters in the party have their bravery over 15k, it ticks up by 2 turns. If not, it ticks down. Now, you can actually get around this by using bravery attacks, or C65s, or call abilities. It's actually quite an easy Lufenia requirement to get around, but obviously if you have characters that battery very heavily or have a lot of brave refund in their attacks, then they're going to help you out an awful lot here as well. Now, the whales need to be kept broken pretty much the entire way through the fight, because if you leave them without having broken them for multiple turns, their attacks get stronger and stronger and more hard to deal with, because at first, after 3 turns of not being broken, they'll cleanse all of their debuffs, and then they'll break your party, and then if you leave them for any longer than that, then it'll do all of that, and then it'll dispel all of your buffs, it'll like cleanse all of yours, and then it'll HP attack on top of it, so you do not want that to happen. Where periodically through the fight as well, they'll gain auras and massive shields. So this is going to be where you need brave shaving. And again, with Iroha being the featured character, what they want for you to do here is for you to save her EX, for example, which you're going to spam during this particular part of the fight to break those shields. Now, if you're using certain characters, this shouldn't be too difficult for you to get around. Terra will work really well here. Strago will work really well here. Tifa can actually work really well here, even though the enemies are heavily resistant to melee damage. But despite that, All that takes to get around that is a simple enchant imperil deal, and then you can just bring Tifa and she will wreck face as she usually does. Ashe is actually going to be fantastic here as well because she has the enchant imperil on top of all of the other shenanigans that she has on offer. Onion Knight, for a similar reason, you can take Onion Knight so that you're able to keep the party enchanted for ice. You've got the turn manipulation so that you're able to get the breaks on, AoE damage. There's lots of good stuff. There's lots of ways for you to get around those heavy shields. Bart's is actually fantastic for this as well. Because, but obviously, if you have Fujin Call, then you can use that to enchant, say, Tifa. If not, then perhaps bring a magic damage dealer instead. But you've got lots and lots and lots of ways to deal with these shields. You can instant break the enemies, because breaking the enemies is what actually gets rid of their auras to stop them from getting all these nasty attacks off. But if you do use an instant break attack on them, they will keep their shield. So while you can use your Jack calls, your Caius calls, etc., you do still need to get around those shields. So make sure you're bringing heavy duty damage dealers. They also gain a purple aura which locks their turns in place, so you can't manipulate their turns apart from by breaking them. And then during that time, the Brave Reduction aura is heavier, and you have to get around that. But past that, once you've kind of hit that point, you're probably already going to have the momentum enough that you're able to deal with that, especially if you have Iroha for obvious reasons. But if not, then just continue with what you're doing. Make sure you're getting around those shields. Make sure you're able to take down lots of bravery in a short space of time, and it shouldn't be too difficult for you. So of course now we come to the big question of the video: should you be pulling on Iroha's banner? Now, in the right circumstances, Iroha is really powerful. Like, she provides things that no other character can with the Brave Consumption reduction. I think it's a very powerful aspect to have, and it does get you around a lot of the more irritating aspects of Lufenia fights. And her EX attack is really powerful, really powerful. Her base skills, not so much, they're okay at best, but her EX is very strong. So if you're using characters that can get you to that EX really quickly, so Ashe for a good example, Onion Knight, anyone that gives her free skills so that she's able to use her C65 to get that EX as quickly as possible, that is where Iroha shines. If you're able to get her to that point, you're going to have your healing, you're going to have your, auras. They're not as strong as some character aura bots have been in the past, but they're still good. But you're going to have access to that Brave Consumption reduction. She fills what I like to call that kind of extra character slot very well. Like, you have 3 party members. You tend to have your primary damage dealer, your primary support, or whoever goes into to deal with the Lufenia orb at that given time. And if you've got a bit of wiggle room in your party, then Iroha fills that slot really, really well. Like, the LD call is also really nice. Having access to that Brave reduction or consumption reduction is also really good. Like, if you're using it with characters like Tifa, like Kuja, like any BT based character, then you're gonna get a lot out of that. It is really good. However, when you take away the Brave consumption reduction, she's a very simplistic character. She actually doesn't have an awful lot about her past that makes a huge deal out of her. She is just a healer battery based character. She's got her quirks, like her really powerful EX, like the Brave consumption reduction. They're really nice, but they're a really heavy duty support character that we already have access to. Your Paladin Cecils, your Bartzes, your Aeriths, your Ashes. There's a lot of very, very powerful characters here. And Iroha does come back on a very powerful banner, as I said earlier, with Vayne and his BT and BT+. So if you wanted to, you could do the same thing as I said about Ashe and wanting to wait until Zack's banner. If you really like Zack, then maybe you wanted to wait until that happens so that you could pick up Ashe's LD then. The same applies here. If you're looking forward to Vayne, I'd probably skip Iroha, because being a new character, you can get the extra resources out of her summon boards, you can get the extra resources just generally and have a chance to save where possible. This is probably what I'm planning on doing. Now there's a free pull here. If I get her LD in a free pull, I'll be over the moon and ecstatic, because she is good. But I don't think she's a character that one has to feel the need to go out of their way for, because when you boil her down to her core basics, she is a very simple character with a very simple role that a lot of characters can cater for as well as she can. And then finally, of course, we have Would You Pull, the section of the video where you, the viewer, get your chance to make your voice heard and let everyone know whether you would or wouldn't pull on any given banner and why. And once again, a massive thank you goes out to all of my patrons for casting their votes and their comments on this particular banner. And obviously, if you'd like full access to the database of everybody's comments when it comes to every Would You Pull banner or Would You Pull poll, then it's a benefit of being on Patreon yourself. So if you'd like to consider that, then a big thank you goes out to you in advance. Now, with this particular banner, it's a little bit all over the place in terms of the numbers. Like, some people are really into Iroha, some people don't really care about her, and some people are just outright no on her. With the numbers, 17% of people said that they were going to use gems on this banner, 24% of people said they were going to use over 100 tickets, 24% said they were going to use less than 100 tickets, and 34% of people said no. So I think that Iroha is a character that, you know, myself included, it'd be a character that I'd love to have because I think she's very interesting, she's got some really cool quirks, really nice things. As a big Vayne fan, I know that I'm going to be pulling on that banner, so I'm happy to wait for her till then. But there are people who want to have her now, and that's absolutely justified. So let's go and have a look at some of the comments here. Goose says, couple of tickets for Iroha. Looking at her kit, I'm not all that impressed. Her Brave discount gimmick is kind of unique and that's fairly cool, but I already have a lot of third slot characters I like using, like Mog and Waka, and I don't see myself getting much value out of her. I might get her pulling on Vayne. If I did, I wouldn't use her. Would be fun to exploit Ashe and her EX shenanigans while they're hot and fresh, but I certainly won't lose sleep over missing her. All that said, I'd put money on her getting a big C90 glow up like Xander and Guy, so watch this space. This is true. There are a lot of characters who are getting their EX upgrades with their C90 and stuff like that over in JP that are really kind of shocking people as to how much better they've gotten with very minimal effort to character players that already have them. I'm actually really looking forward to that era because I love seeing sort of forgotten characters like Guy and Xander suddenly become amazing. And I'm, you know, Iroha's EX is already really good, so I'm really interested to see where they go from there. Firebear says, I'm pulling. Love her looks, love the style, and her weapon being spear. Her niche of the Brave Spent is interesting, and I've had a lot of fun with all the FF11 units that I've pulled, so why not add another? I'm also always one to increase my support and healing roster, as I can't tell how many times I've used LD calls that heal, so I could try and sneak through a Lufenia without healers. Having another is always beneficial. I like that obviously people do want to pull on a wide variety of supporters and healers, but I think for me personally, in the case of Iroha, the only real draw to her is that EX and the Brave consumption reduction. If you've got teams in mind, like you have Ashe, you have Onion Knight, you have characters that are going to abuse those things, go in for Iroha, because she'll be really fun, really enjoyable, she'll churn out the damage, and she'll be really good for you. Otherwise, I just don't see a situation where I would use Iroha in place of, say, Cecil or Bart or even Sarah. Like, there are characters that just do so much more for the party than she does. Like, if you've got a healer, Aerith, as well, then there's a lot of characters that can do the same things that she can do, even if it's not in the same way. Lukayasha says, it kind of pains me, but I'm going to be skipping this one. She's a solid supported healer with excellent Brave recovery and some, if not the best battle animations on offer. Her banner mates aren't terrible, however her return on Vayne's LD and BT weapons is the main reason why me, and I'm sure many others, are willing to wait for her return. Plus, over the next month with Cypher, Porum, Queen, Lael, and Cloud of Darkness weapons on the horizon, I need to pass on something. Unless my free pull is garbage, I may use up to 30 tickets just for a small chance, but otherwise I'll wait and see when Vayne comes around. This is the thing, like, I mean, of the characters that have been sort of listed there, the big ones are going to be Porum and Cloud of Darkness. These are characters that a lot of players are going to be going in for with very good reason. They're both exceptionally powerful. So if you're low on resources, I would definitely reconsider pulling here, especially if it's healers that you're after, because in a couple of weeks' time, Porum will blow most healers out of the water. And then, you know, damage dealer wise, Cloud of Darkness is absolutely exceptional as well. So if you're low on resources, new characters are often an opportunity to get a good amount of resources because of their summon boards and stuff, so if you can take it, then I would suggest doing so. If you've got resources to spare, Iroha won't disappoint you. Jeffrey Redcloud Barrels Jr. finally says, Gems, going all in. She's an MMO character, aka a fave. Good, bad, I'll max her out and would like to get Eald'narche's BT along the way. If you're missing Eald'narche's burst and you haven't pulled on any of his banners, my suggestion would be to go on Ashe and Strago. But if you're not that fussed about Vayne, then Iroha is a fantastic choice as well. And if you, obviously, when a character comes back round the second time and there's been no buffs to them, they're not as exciting as they are the first time round. So if you are interested in Iroha, there is no begrudging being interested in her. She does do the job very well that she's set out to do. So that's going to be all for today's video. Thank you all very much for watching. And of course, as always, let me know in the comments below what you think of Iroha and whether you'll be pulling on her, or whether you think you'll be waiting on Vayne's banner, or whether you don't really care about pulling for her at all. As always, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell for notifications of any future videos I might be making. And of course, don't forget to check in the link just down below for my new charity stream and all the stuff that I'm going to be doing to help Mind Out for the work that they do for the LGBT community. Massive thank you goes out to you, and I hope to see you in the next video. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.